Chloe Bibby, red kryptonite herself, Chloe Bibby is out for the season.
If you are a fan of the Indiana Fever, in my opinion, it's really concerning. It's really, really concerning. And that is the way that the Indiana Fever have dealt with the Chloe Bibby injury.
Lads, this one's tough to watch. If you're an Indiana Fever fan, brace yourself, because what's happening with Chloe Bibby is deeply concerning. And honestly, it's a disaster waiting to unfold. Just weeks ago, Bibby was listed as day-to-day. She was practicing, warming up for games, even appearing on the active roster. Everything seemed fine, until it wasn't. Suddenly, she's out for the season. Just like that. 4 days after the team assured fans there was no setback, we find out Bibby's knee isn't just swollen, it's done for the year. And that's the problem.
I'm not out here saying that Chloe Bibby, the Fever training staff, are the reason why Chloe Bibby's injured. I'm actually not saying that, and I don't know that. But what I am saying is Chloe Bibby was listed as day-to-day 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, she was day-to-day. And then all of a sudden, she goes from day-to-day to she's back playing.
It's not the injury itself. Injuries happen. They're part of sport. But the way the Fever have handled this, that's the real concern. We've seen players everywhere, from Tyrese Halliburton to Kevin Durant, play through injuries they shouldn't. You don't need to be a doctor to see when something's seriously wrong. And right now, it feels like the Fever are fumbling the communication, putting players on flights, risking further damage, and leaving fans completely in the dark. This isn't just about one player's season being cut short. It's about the transparency, or lack thereof, within the organization.
No Caitlin, no Sophie, no Chloe. When we talk about that it's getting harder to tune in, it's getting harder to watch, this is what we're talking about.
How can fans trust the team's statements when they go from all good to season over in less than a week? And what does this mean for Caitlin Clark, another star battling injury uncertainty? Today, we're breaking down everything you need to know about the Chloe Bibby situation, why the Fever's handling of injuries is raising red flags, and what it could mean for the rest of the season. Stay tuned, because this is messy, it's dramatic, and it's far from over.
She was day-to-day, she was in practice, and then suddenly she's back playing. She's back on the roster for a game. They didn't play her. They gave her a DNP, but she was on the roster. She warmed up. And then she's suddenly off the roster. And
to understand why this Chloe Bibby situation is so alarming, you need to look at the Fever's recent history with injuries and the communication, or lack thereof, surrounding them. 2 weeks ago, Bibby was listed as day-to-day. She was in practice, on the active roster, even warming up before games. Fans were led to believe she was close to returning. But then, without warning, the narrative flipped. Stephanie White was asked directly about the status of Bibby's knee. Her words? No setback, just a little swelling from travel. On paper, that sounds reasonable. But let's be honest. Anyone who has followed sports for more than 5 minutes knows swelling is a clear indicator that something is wrong. The team insisted everything was fine, yet days later, Bibby is ruled out for the season. That sudden shift isn't just confusing, it's alarming. It's not just Bibby. Look around the league. The Fever have seen a string of injuries this season, and while bad luck is part of sports, the handling here feels different. It's not just bad timing, it's inconsistent communication, mixed messaging, and questionable decision-making. Fans don't just want updates, they deserve honesty.
Guys, it's rough. I don't know what else to say. It is rough in these Indiana Fever streets. So half the team's out with injuries, yeah, and we're just looking at some rebuttals, some retorts from Fever fans. Fire your incompetent training and medical staff. This brand of apple is rotten to the core.
Look, it's one thing, like, it's setbacks from injuries happen. That happens all the time. That a player comes back from injury a little bit too early and they end up having a setback and they're out. But Stephanie White was asked about this, and her words were that there was no setback, just a little bit of swelling because of traveling. And we all said it, and we were like, she's just defined a setback. She just said there's no setback and then defined a setback. And they were like,
dang, this just sucks. Yeah, this blows. Yet another blow for the Fever. Yes, it does, in fact, blow. Why can't they admit that with Caitlin Clark as well? Seriously. What the F is wrong with your training staff? This is ridiculous. At this point, they have to be incompetent at their jobs. From fumbling CC's injuries to everything else.
Is everyone in my replies being like, you're not a doctor, you're not the team doctor. You don't have to be a doctor to know when something's wrong. Like, if you followed sports long enough, you know when something is seriously, seriously wrong. Like, you know when stuff is like, teams shouldn't be doing something.
Yet the Fever kept her on the roster, creating confusion for fans, reporters, and even her teammates. Contrast that with other leagues. In the NBA, there are insiders, agents, and reporters who leak injury updates when teams are secretive. Fans still get a rough picture. The WNBA doesn't have the same transparency. Fever fans are left in the dark, forced to parse vague statements while key players' seasons hang in the balance. Then there's the bigger question. What does this mean for Caitlin Clark? With Bibby out, any mismanagement only heightens the stakes. If Clark is mishandled or kept in uncertainty, it could affect the Fever's playoff chances. The organization's lack of clarity doesn't just frustrate fans, it threatens the team's competitive edge. And let's be honest, this isn't just about poor luck. Injuries happen, but the Fever's communication, travel decisions, and roster management suggest a deeper problem. It's one thing to be unlucky, it's another to be inconsistent, opaque, and reactive instead of proactive.
Look, I get it. People are pissed. I don't blame them. It's ridiculous. It really is. Voodoo doll. What is going on? ? This must be a conspired psyops. Or planned sabotage. No way in hell you're losing this many players to season-ending injuries. The WNBA and Fever organization is a disgrace to basketball. Bull then and bull now. Look, they wouldn't be taking
The Chloe Bibby saga has escalated from a simple knee injury to a glaring example of organizational mismanagement, leaving fans, players, and analysts asking one question: what's really going on behind the scenes? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Chloe Bibby's knee injury isn't just a vague swelling issue. In professional basketball, swelling is your body's alarm system, telling you something is seriously off. Traveling while injured, practicing, and warming up can worsen the damage, even if it's minor in the team's eyes. This isn't speculation, it's basic sports science. Bibby being active while swelling was present was a risk that shouldn't have been taken.
But yeah, obviously, like, these doctors know more, but the team just doesn't seem to be willing to communicate anything. Like, I understand bringing out Chloe Bibby. It's not the end of the world that you've brought out Chloe Bibby. It's not the end of the world that you brought her back a little bit early. If it turns out that it was a pretty bad knee injury, that she was done anyway. Like, there's a chance that Chloe Bibby was done for the season anyway. It's one of those injuries where it'll take 2 months to figure out.
At the end of the day, the Bibby saga isn't just an isolated injury story. It's a cautionary tale about risk management, communication failures, and player safety. Every misstep in how this injury was handled sends signals, not just to the fans, but to the entire league. Clarity, honesty, and care in injury management aren't optional. They're essential. The Chloe Bibby injury isn't just a one-player issue. It reflects a much larger problem in the Indiana Fever organization and, frankly, the WNBA as a whole. When communication is inconsistent, injuries are mishandled, or players are traveling while not fully cleared, it undermines trust across the board. Fans, who are the lifeblood of the league, are left confused and frustrated. When the Fever say no setback one day and announce a season-ending injury 4 days later, it's impossible to take the statements at face value. The ripple effects extend to the team's competitiveness. Losing a player like Bibby affects rotations, game strategy, and the workload of other players. Caitlin Clark now faces more pressure, both physically and mentally. If injuries are mishandled, you risk compounding problems that could extend into the playoffs. A single mismanaged injury can domino into a full team crisis. Then there's the WNBA's reputation to consider. Transparency is limited compared to other professional leagues. While secrecy exists in the NBA, there are always insiders, leaks, and agent updates that give fans and media context. The WNBA lacks that infrastructure, meaning fans often have no clue what's happening until official statements, which, as we've seen, can be misleading or incomplete. From a broader perspective, this situation highlights the need for better injury protocols, more honest communication, and stronger accountability within teams. Players' careers, fans' trust, and the league's credibility are all at stake. When injuries are handled poorly, it doesn't just affect the present, it sets a precedent for how teams manage talent, transparency, and player safety going forward. The Chloe Bibby story is a wake-up call. For the Fever, the league, and fans, it's a reminder. Injuries aren't just about physical recovery. They're about clarity, accountability, and maintaining faith in the game. So, where does this leave the Indiana Fever and the fans watching closely from home? Chloe Bibby's season-ending injury isn't just a moment of bad luck. It's a symptom of deeper issues: inconsistent communication, questionable roster management, and a lack of transparency that leaves fans, players, and analysts in the dark. Any misstep in handling her injury could be catastrophic, not just for her career, but for the Fever's playoff hopes. The message is clear. How a team manages injuries isn't just about recovery. It's about strategy, trust, and protecting the future of the franchise. For fans, it's frustrating. Sports are entertainment, but they're also about connection. Fans invest time, energy, and money, believing that teams are managing their stars responsibly. When communication is opaque or misleading, it erodes that trust. And in a league like the WNBA, where transparency already lags behind bigger leagues, these missteps are magnified. The takeaway? The Fever need to do better. Not just in training and medical care, but in honesty, clarity, and accountability. Players deserve proper management. Fans deserve honesty. And the league deserves credibility. Injuries happen. It's how they're handled that defines an organization. Chloe Bibby's season is over, but the larger story isn't just about one player. It's about a team, a league, and a fan base demanding better. And for the Fever, this should be a wake-up call. Communication, transparency, and player safety aren't optional. They're essential. Fans, analysts, and players alike will be watching closely. The question now isn't just whether Bibby can recover, it's whether the Fever can learn from this mistake before it costs them even more.